What is going on, Pats Nation, and welcome back into another New England Patriots post-game recap. Here to recap everything that happened Week 9, New England Patriots at home against the Atlanta Falcons. Patriots pull off an absolute nail-biter, okay? The title is not rage bait. It's not clickbait. It's none of the baits. It is just quite literally the fact. If you guys were there during our live watch party, you would know from the beginning of the game to the last second of the game were two very different versions of Colby. Okay, I mean, in the beginning, I'm like, oh yeah, this game, we're about to win this game with ease. It might be another blowout. At the end, I'm saying, dear God, I'm holding on for dear life. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. I feel that feeling in the pit of my stomach to where I'm not sure we're gonna win. I'm not sure we're going to lose, but I have faith. And I know that this New England Patriots team can do one of two things. One, they're going to be what we saw the entirety of this game for the most part, and they're going to cripple down on themselves and they're going to lose this game, or they're going to be the hopes and the signs of what we saw over the last 6 weeks of this season, for the majority of this season, where the offense comes to life and they string together a drive and they come clutch when you need them the most. And that's exactly what they did, man. And honestly, I don't want to necessarily feel like that. I want to be able to win games confidently, but to be able to even have that feeling and say that we're in games and be able to be a fan base that says this game can go either way. It's a close game. It's down to the wire, but we have enough faith in our team to know that we can still win this game and we are capable, I think just says a lot about the development of this New England Patriots team and how they are kind of just improving as each week goes by. Maybe not this week as much, but you know what I'm saying. Rob not going to be here today. I know a lot of you asking, where's Rob? Why are you starting late? Rob had a big weekend in his personal life. I don't know if he wants everybody to know, so I'm not gonna come out. I'm not gonna say it. And so he's doing some stuff. He's doing some stuff. And so last minute had to call an audible, and so I had to change all the graphics and stuff like that to be able to fit just a one-man show instead of a two-man show. And that's why we're going to be a little bit late here. There's so much to get in with this game. I want to talk about my final reaction and kind of that sequence of events that happened there. We're at the end of this game that allowed the Patriots to ultimately come out with the win and then break down every single position like we do every single week. But for those who don't know, and I think this is the moment that a lot of you guys have been waiting for, but we have been doing a jersey giveaway. I just said a jersey giveaway, and I'm sure like half of your stomach's just sank to your stomach, because we are giving away 5 New England Patriots rivalry jerseys leading up to their Week 11 matchup at home against the New York Jets prime time. Now, Fanatics hit me up, and these jerseys are legit, and they said, we don't want to just give away those 3D printed on ones. We want to give away the high-quality New England Patriots rivalry jerseys, okay? The ones that are valued at $190, the ones with the NE logo on the sides, the ones with the stars and the "We're All Patriots" on the collar actually stitched in there, the real NFL logo right there in the middle there of the collar. And so with that being said, now is the time to announce 2 winners. Next week, during the game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or following the game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we will be giving away the final 3 jerseys. But at least for today, we will start with 2. Now, this is at complete random, okay? This is at absolute complete random. I'm not choosing who picks. This one is up to the big man upstairs. And so let's do this. So originally I had put it in my phone as one of the, actually put it on my laptop as one of those big wheel things that you spin. And it's like, all right, let's see who won. We got so many submissions. You guys have killed it, from TikTok to Instagram to YouTube to Twitter. You guys have killed the game so much. And I want to say thank you so much for all the love and support you guys have been giving me, whether you're new to the channel, whether you've been around here for a while. Support that you guys have shown over the last few weeks with this giveaway has been absolutely amazing. But like I said, this is going to be at absolute random. I tried to do the little dial thing, but I had too many people. We had so many submissions that I couldn't fit all the names on there. So instead, we had to just write down all of the names. We had to write down where you guys came from, and we're just gonna randomly pick somebody's name and see who comes away with the win. So let's do the first one. Make sure you guys know I'm actually doing it on my phone. That way you guys don't think I'm like just doing it for no reason. All right, and Jake gets the first rivalries jersey. If you are a winner, I will be reaching out to you after today's live stream later tonight to talk to you about how you can acquire this jersey. So, Jake, big shout out to you. We'll be reaching out to you a little bit later today on how you can win. And then let's see. I'll make sure I put it up so you guys know this is legit. I feel good here. All right, and we have, make sure you got it. Okay, yeah. So shout out to Zachary Taki, and Jake. You both have won today's giveaways for the rivalries jersey. I'll be reaching out to each of you guys. Let me screenshot your stuff here so that I make sure I reach out to you guys. And if you guys do not reach out, or you guys do not respond in the next 48 hours, then we will have to re-give away one of the jerseys so that we get all these jerseys sent out, hopefully, and you guys can have them before the New England Patriots rivalries game in a couple of weeks. If you guys didn't win today, don't worry. Don't be weary. We're giving away 3 jerseys next week, so you still have an opportunity to win. If you do win, ultimately, if you are one of the winners, we will be taking your name off the list so that you don't ultimately end up winning 2 times. So as long as you guys have entered the giveaway, you're all good. You'll be entered into next week's giveaways also for your opportunity to win one of the 3 jerseys that we will give away next week. But let's go ahead and let's transition on into this game. 24-23. This is a game where I think you can say one of 2 things, and they would both be true. One is that the New England Patriots should have blown out the Atlanta Falcons today. They should have won by multiple possessions, and I don't think you would be wrong. You can also say that the New England Patriots could have lost this game today, and it wouldn't have surprised any of us because as the game was going on, they were playing sloppy football like we've seen them do several times last year. We saw them do it in the beginning of the season this year against Pittsburgh, against the Raiders. And that's kind of what this game started to feel like. And they always end up losing those games. So if you said that, you also wouldn't be wrong. But again, what was different is that this New England Patriots team clutched up. Instead of shooting themselves in the foot when they have a chance to win, they made the correct plays. They made the correct reads. They did what they were supposed to, and it wasn't pretty, but they came out with a win. And a win is a win, and a loss is a loss at the end of the day. Tom Brady didn't perform at an elite level every single week. Tom Brady wasn't going out there throwing for 300 yards every week. There were games where Tom Brady had really piss-poor games, turning the football over multiple times, horrific interceptions, terrible reads, but they still squeaked away with the win. There were games where Tom Brady did absolutely nothing, and the New England Patriots still won because of their running game or because of their defense. You look at Super Bowl 53. Super Bowl 53 was not won because of Tom Brady. Super Bowl 53 was won because of the defense. And so, yes, Drake Maye did take a step back today. I feel like a lot of aspects of this team, it ultimately took a step back today. But you got the win, and that's what matters. That's what shows up on the stat sheet. That's what gets you into the postseason. That's what wins you Super Bowls. If the New England Patriots won a game like this every single week until the end of the football season, I don't think we would be upset because that means they would win out. If they went into the postseason, into the playoffs, into the Super Bowl, and they won games like this, we wouldn't be upset. Because why? Because at the end of the day, they ultimately still won, and that's exactly what the narrative was for me today. If you continue to play like this, I mean, yeah, we're going to have some questions, and you hope that they clean things up, but you took care of business. And the narrative coming into this game is, well, the Patriots haven't played a good team, and the Patriots didn't do this, and the Patriots' schedule is a cakewalk. The Patriots beat a good team today. And the Atlanta Falcons, I'm not telling you, are like this guaranteed playoff team. They're very, very inconsistent. But the team that the Patriots faced today beat the Buffalo Bills 2 weeks ago. The team that we faced today was not the Atlanta Falcons team that last week got blown out by the Miami Dolphins. You had Drake London in there today. You had Michael Penix in there today. You had pretty much the healthiest version of the Atlanta Falcons possible outside of Billy Bowman on the defensive side of the football being out, and you still were able to come away with this win. We can't say anymore that the Patriots haven't beat good opponents. We can't say anymore that the Patriots have this cakewalk schedule and they haven't done anything. You beat the Atlanta Falcons, right? You beat the Buffalo Bills. right? You beat the Carolina Panthers, who are over 500, and today the Carolina Panthers got a very good win against one of the best teams in the league on the NFC side of things in the Green Bay Packers. That is now 3 quality teams that the Patriots have beaten. Not to mention the fact that in the other 3 games the Patriots have played, they've provided blowouts. I'm just listing facts here. The turnovers is ultimately what came down to the New England Patriots ultimately losing this game. Shooting themselves in the foot, allowing the offense for the Atlanta Falcons to be in short fields and capitalize on it. Because for the majority, not the whole game, but for the majority of this game, when the Patriots said Michael Penix and the offense for Atlanta had to sustain long drives and go down to the field on this Patriots defense, they weren't able to do so. When you look at the amount of points that Carolina put up, it all really, for the most part, underline that word, came with Atlanta having good field position, starting at or within the 50-yard line. I mean, they didn't have to do a whole lot because of essentially almost exactly where they were starting some of their possessions were already in field goal range. When they had to go down the field on New England, I mean, they're starting at the 15, 20, 25, even 30-yard line. Atlanta struggled to string together long enough drives to go down to the field. The Patriots were forcing them to punt. But it was because of those turnovers that allowed them to put up the amount of points that they did. But anyway, so Atlanta's driving down the field. They have an opportunity to tie the game, and they do exactly just that, right? I mean, you had an opportunity for Christian Gonzalez to get an interception. He ultimately goes down with a head injury. You had Carlton Davis on that same drive with an opportunity to get an interception. He misses it. What happens? Drake London touchdown on Carlton Davis, but the New England Patriots former kicker and John Parker Romo ultimately ends up missing the extra point. So now they miss the extra point. They give the football back to the Patriots. The Patriots aren't able to do anything with it. Then the Atlanta Falcons, they get the football back. They're driving down the field, but they shoot themselves in the foot. Penalty. Michael Penix, intentional grounding. Milton Williams and a couple of other Patriots defenders are in his face as soon as the ball was snapped because of missed block assignments by the Atlanta Falcons offensive line. Michael Penix, with terrible situational awareness, thinks his running back's on one side of him, but he's actually on the other, spikes the football to the ground. He's looking like, what do you mean that's intentional grounding? Well, buddy, it's intentional grounding because you saw pressure. You threw it at the ground with not a single offensive player in the vicinity. That makes it a 3rd and 13. Then they attempt to pass on third down. It was 2nd and 20. Then they attempt a pass on 3rd down. It goes incomplete. Now it's 4th and 20. And the Atlanta Falcons are in a really, really interesting situation here because they were sustaining this long drive that looked like that they were going to get into field goal range because all they needed was like another 15 to 20 yards, and they would have been in field goal range for John Parker Romo to kick a field goal and give them the lead up by 2 and possibly not even give the Patriots any time left back with the ball. And they're in an interesting situation where now, because of those penalties, you're not even close to field goal range. You're at or maybe even slightly behind the 50-yard line on a 4th and 20, and they say, do we go for it here? Or do we give the Patriots the ball back when we have 2 timeouts left, under 2 minutes left in the game? And Raheem Morris decided that he was going to trust the Atlanta Falcons defense instead of attempting Michael Penix and Drake London magic on 4th and 20. Now, for whatever it's worth, I'm not going to sit here and talk in hindsight and hate on Raheem Morris for doing that. The math, for whatever it is worth, actually does state that on a 4th and 20 in that position, you should punt the football and trust your defense rather than going for it. But I think that he forgets who is on the other side of the field. It feels like Raheem Morris said, Drake Maye's not been playing very good football today. I trust our defense to go out there, make a play, get a stop for us to be able to get this football back. But he forgot that Drake Maye's playing at an MVP level. And all they need is 1 first down. All the Patriots offense needed was 1 first down to be able to walk away with this win and make sure Atlanta does not have another opportunity on offense. What happens? Patriots go back on offense. They run the football. All right, Atlanta takes their first timeout. Patriots run the football again. All right, well, Atlanta takes another timeout. Now it's 3rd and 5. Okay, clock is stopped with just over a minute left to go. Atlanta doesn't have any more timeouts. But if the Patriots don't get the first down and they pass the ball and the clock is stopped, that gives Atlanta a lot of time left back with the ball, even though they don't have any timeouts. The Patriots could run the ball there, give it back to Atlanta with under a minute left in the game, but all Atlanta needs is a field goal and they win the game. Jason McCourty said that he believes in that situation. He said this before the Patriots, selected their play on 3rd down. He said, I believe the Patriots should trust their defense. He said, I would run the ball, give it back to them with the least amount of time as possible, and trust your defense to get a stop. And I said, Jason, you guys watch the live watch party, you would know. I said, Jason, I don't know about that. Defense has been playing great. Christian Gonzalez is currently out. He's not in the game. You're out your number 1 corner. Drake London's been killing you. You're down. I mean, you're ahead by 1 if you're the Patriots. I mean, one play for Atlanta could immediately get them into field goal range. One good punt return, and they're in field goal range. Is that something you really want to test? The Patriots didn't, and I'm glad that they didn't. Because on 3rd and 5, they passed the ball. They got Hunter Henry into space, and it was just an easy first down and a little bit of extra for Hunter Henry. He goes down, stays in bounds, because all the team needed was that one first down on that drive. They were able to kneel the rest out and come away with a 1-point victory. That's why football is a game of inches. And there's several different plays that we as Patriots fans can look back on, that Atlanta Falcons fans can look back on and say, if we did this one thing different, this game could have been a different outcome. And it could have, because it was 1 point. Again, if Carlton Davis gets the interception on Michael Penix, they don't get into the end zone to almost tie the game, right? They wouldn't have gotten to the end zone to even have John Parker Romo miss the field goal. Carlton Davis or Christian Gonzalez, one of those guys just makes that interception on that drive. Then they don't get into the end zone. And the Patriots can pretty much essentially put the game away at that point. If the Patriots offense doesn't completely collapse on themselves, they should have put up no less than 30 points on the Atlanta Falcons. But they did. And this is the game that we were given. And it was a close game. But that's what it was. That's all she wrote. But I do want to get into each individual position now that we kind of broke down the sequence of events that led to this being a close game. Starting off here with Drake Maye. But actually, before we do that, I do want to say this too. Overall today, Patriots won time of possession, 34 minutes and 5 seconds to Atlanta's 25 minutes and 55 seconds. The Patriots had more total yards with 331 to Atlanta's 288. The Patriots did have more passing yards, 221 to Atlanta's 217. The Patriots had more rushing yards, 110 to Atlanta's 71. The Patriots had more first downs, 23 to Atlanta's 17. The Patriots had less penalties today than Atlanta, 2-5. But the Patriots had more turnovers. They had 2, Atlanta had 0. Drake Maye was sacked more times than Michael Penix. Drake Maye was sacked 6 times to Michael Penix's 1. Patriots also ran more plays than Atlanta. It was those 2 factors that really made this game closer than it needed to be. Every other category, the Patriots won. But they lost the turnover battle. They lost the sack battle. And those 2 things hold so much weight to a football team and their potential to win or lose a game that this was as close as it was. And so if you're a Patriots fan watching this saying, how do we have more dominant wins moving forward? Offensively, you don't take sacks. You don't turn the football over. Defensively, it's the opposite. You got to force turnovers. You got to get to the quarterback. You got to get those sacks. And today, really for the first time this season, Patriots didn't do that. They didn't get to the quarterback. They didn't put the quarterback on the ground outside of one time. And they didn't force any turnovers. When coming into this game, the Patriots were averaging, roughly 2 turnovers on the defensive side of the football. And I think you also saw this factor with, I'm trying to not get ahead of myself too much, but you saw this factor that the Patriots defense never made this big play. And you had Caleb on Chason saying before their game leading up to the Cleveland Browns that when the defense makes a big play, that's when the defense switches. The momentum switches. They didn't really make that big play today. They didn't get that big interception. They didn't get this big forced fumble. They prevented them from converting on fourth down a couple of times. So, I mean, there's that, right? But the defense didn't have that big play, that big sack on the day that really helped change the momentum into New England's defense's favor. And I think we saw today that they really do need that play if they're going to switch like a light on the defensive side of the football and really start playing dominant football for the remainder of the game. But getting here into Drake Maye, he came back down to earth. And he came back down to earth for Drake Maye's measures because there's a lot of quarterbacks, starting quarterbacks in this league, that if they go out there and they perform the way that Drake Maye did today, they would consider that a pretty damn good start. We sit back and we say, Drake Maye came back down to earth. He's going to need to be better moving forward. But that's what you expect. When Drake Maye's playing at an elite level, when Drake Maye is playing as an MVP caliber quarterback, yes, we do expect him to have better games than what he did ultimately put out there today. He was 19 of 29 for 259 yards, averaging 13.6 yards per throw, 2 passing touchdowns, an interception, sacked 6 times, another consecutive game of a rating over 100, this time 102.5. And on the ground, he went 8 attempts, 20 yards, 2.5 yards per carry, but also fumbled the ball 2 times. So Drake Maye put the ball in harm's way 3 times today. We also saw him put the ball in harm's way last week against the Cleveland Browns with a horrific interception to the linebacker in Carson Schlesinger. Drake Maye's got to be better. We know that this team is different. We know that Drake Maye is different when Drake Maye does not turn the football over. So he needs to figure out what has he done prior to the last 2 weeks that he can re-implement here. Josh McDaniels needs to go back to the drawing board as the artist of this offense and say, how can I get Drake Maye back into a comfortable position where he's not turning the football over? Now, let's also put this caveat on it. Drake Maye was also playing 2 very good defenses over the last 2 weeks, right? The Cleveland Browns, we talked about this last week. That's arguably the hardest defense the Patriots will play all year. They're the number 1 ranked defense in the league. The Atlanta Falcons also have a pretty good defense. The Atlanta Falcons have a top 3 pass rush unit and the number 1 ranked secondary. Where they struggle is against the run. Atlanta was ranked 22nd against the run defensively. Unfortunately for the Patriots, they didn't have Ramondre Stevenson. The Patriots don't have a run game. The Patriots really are kind of being forced to succeed by throwing the football. And today, they were being forced to throw the football against a top 3 pass rush unit and the number 1 secondary in the National Football League. And that's not really a recipe to succeed. When you have a good pass rush, that means the quarterback has to get the football out quickly. That means the quarterback has to make a quick read. But when you have the number 1 secondary, wide receivers aren't getting open in a split second for Drake Maye to be able to get the football out. How many times today do we see Drake Maye steps back in the pocket, has the football, looks for a receiver, throws, never mind, he's not open, pulls it back down, receiver, never mind, he's not open now either, puts the football back down, and now Drake Maye's panicking in the pocket because he snapped the football 3 seconds ago, and now the pocket's dwindling down on him. That's essentially what the narrative was, and that's what makes the Falcons' defense as good as it is. That's why they have so much potential, is because the secondary is going to hold off the wide receivers from getting open, which forces the quarterback to hang on to the football, but the pass rush is so good for Atlanta that it's either get the football out quickly or we're coming for your throat. And that's exactly what happened to Drake Maye today. 6 sacks on the day. He's been sacked over 10 times over the last 2 weeks. And I think we're just seeing that internal clock for Drake Maye is being sped up. Prior to these 2 games, he didn't really need to have that internal clock sped up. The O-line was performing fairly well. They weren't really facing any crazy pass rushes. The defensive line for the Titans is good, but it wasn't anything compared to what we saw over the last 2 weeks. And so when you're sacked, 10 plus times in 2 weeks, naturally that internal clock is going to be sped up. And I think we started to see Drake Maye not really think, right? He was purely acting off of that anxiety, off of what he was feeling and not staying in the pocket and using his brain, right? Sensing that the pressure is coming, throwing the football away, dumping the football down, getting outside of the pocket, flushing out try balancing it to the outside. Try flushing yourself outside of the pocket a little bit and see if, you can do something. But it felt like Atlanta had a really good plan of this is what Drake Maye likes to do. This is how he likes to get comfortable. This is how he likes to negate pressure. And they ultimately tried to take that away. But now the blueprint's going to be out there on Drake Maye. For opposing defenses, it's going to be if you can do these things, you can rattle Drake Maye. And if you rattle Drake Maye, you can force him to play turnover-worthy football. And there's going to be offenses out there that are going to be better than what we saw today from Michael Penix and the Atlanta Falcons. And they will capitalize more on these bad mistakes of the offense. So I think figuring out for Drake Maye, how do you get him calmed down? How do you find ways to where when you play a top-tier defense, that you're able to get the football out quickly? And honestly, I think it comes back to the trade deadline. I think you go into the trade deadline and you have to have a rushing attack because the Patriots' lack of a consistent rushing attack has made them one-dimensional offensively. They're being forced to beat opponents, especially elite defenses, through the air. And when you do that, there's a recipe on how to stop those guys. Get the pressure on them and just have your secondary hold up for a few seconds for that pass rush to be able to get home to the quarterback. If the Patriots had at least a good, it doesn't have to be elite, but if they had a good rushing attack, they didn't have to pass the football that much. I mean, Drake Maye passed the football almost 30 times today against the number one secondary in the league without one of his top receivers in Kayshon Boutte because the run game couldn't get it going consistently enough. Again, I said this earlier, but Atlanta has the 22nd ranked run defense. The recipe today should have just been Drake Maye's throwing the football 20, 25 times, absolute maximum. And you run away with the football game. You dominate time of possession. You string together long drives, and you just keep Michael Penix and company off the field. But they just didn't have a run game that was going to allow them to do that. Oh, that's not the right water. There we go. So we'll see how Drake Maye bounces back. Drake Maye did say, too, that, those guys are relying on him and that he does have to be better. So Drake Maye at least does acknowledge that the turnovers are not okay. The interception that he threw, I put 50% of that on him. I put 50% on Hunter Henry. It was a miscommunication. Hunter Henry's all the way over here. Drake Maye's expecting him to go deep down the field. He fires the football down there into a sea of Atlanta defenders, and the ball gets picked off by Jesse Bates, one of the best free safeties in the National Football League, a veteran who just made Drake Maye pay. As for the two fumbles, the one fumble was really bad that they lost. Patriots were up by 14 points at that time. They had the opportunity to drive down the field and be up easily, and the offense was cooking at that time, be up by 21 points against the Atlanta Falcons going into halftime, and then have the football coming out to start the third quarter. That's why I said this game could have been a blowout game if they didn't shoot themselves in the foot. But Michael Onwenu absolutely just whiffs on one of his blocking assignments. Jalen Walker, the rookie linebacker / edge rusher for the Atlanta Falcons, comes in completely unblocked. Drake Maye sees him, and as soon as Jalen Walker breathes on Drake Maye, the ball comes out. Like, this wasn't a situation where Drake Maye is stiff-arming Jalen Walker and the ball is up in the air and Drake Maye's trying to do too much. No. Jalen Walker literally got this close to Drake Maye and the ball just went loose. Like, it was just this brief puff of air that just hit Drake Maye from Jalen Walker. And the ball just went. And unfortunately, Jalen Walker, I don't remember if he was the one to pick up the ball or if it was another Atlanta defender, but they scoop it up. You have Will Campbell. Big shout out to Will Campbell for making sure that wasn't a touchdown, a defensive touchdown. He's pulling the guy's shirt. He's trying to punch the ball out, gets him a few yards short, but ultimately Atlanta does capitalize on that play and they get into the end zone for 7. And now instead of the New England Patriots having a 14-point lead that could have been 21, now they only have a 7-point lead and they didn't capitalize the way they should. And then the second fumble was they come out to start the third quarter, a few plays in, after the almost scoop and score touchdown by the Falcons to end the second quarter. Drake Maye is getting outside the pocket. He's running, and the ball just gets ahead of him. He bobbles the football. He doesn't secure it. It gets ahead of him. It flies out. Luckily, he picks it up, and all is good, but it ended up being a loss for the Patriots on that play, and then they ended up not capitalizing on that drive with any type of points anyway, and so it kind of hurt them. And so ball security at the end of the day for Drake Maye. Again, the interception wasn't really that much of a concern for me just because it comes down to you being on the same page. And 9 out of 10 times, Drake Maye and Hunter Henry are on the same page. What really upset me was the ball security with the fumbles. That's something he has to be better on. Because it's okay if you're going to be sacked. Because if Drake Maye on that Jalen Walker play, if he just holds onto the football but goes down, that's not on Drake Maye. That's on Michael Onwenu for completely whiffing on his blocking assignment. But because of just how bad the ball security was, he didn't secure the ball within himself. He made the play so much worse than it really needed to be. And that's completely on Drake Maye. Moving on to the rushing attack, though, obviously Ramondre Stevenson not in this game. It was going to be all the rookie running back in TreVeyon Henderson and Terrell Jennings, who was promoted to the active 53-man roster. TreVeyon Henderson, I thought, had some good moments. This was not a TreVeyon Henderson type of game. This was a Ramondre Stevenson type of game. Where you can take advantage of Atlanta is the interior of the O-line. If you're going to try to bounce the ball to the outside with outside zone, like that's where Atlanta's good. Like they'll take advantage of that when it comes to the run game. What do we know about TreVeyon Henderson? TreVeyon Henderson is good when you give him outside zone runs. When he punches the ball up into the middle, he's not as good. That's not his bread and butter. He's not a power back. He's an elusive back. But he didn't have Ramondre. Somebody needed to do that. TreVeyon Henderson ultimately goes 14 attempts, 55 yards, 3.9 yards per carry, long run of 8 yards. Terrell Jennings goes 11 attempts, 35 yards, 3.2 yards per carry, and 1 touchdown, long run of 11 yards. Thought both of those guys had good moments, and then there were times where both of those guys were stopped well behind the line of scrimmage. So, again, I think that the rushing attack helped make certain plays more manageable, right? Like, I think some of the runs that they were giving would make it, second and short, third and short, so that they were manageable conversions. But the running attack wasn't so good to the point where it opened up the entire offense, right? Like, the rushing game wasn't good enough for the RPO game to be opened up. And that's why Drake Maye was mainly sitting in the pocket as a pocket passing quarterback today when that's not his style of play, was because you couldn't open up the RPO game because there was really no consistent run game for you to be able to do that with. You missed Ramondre Stevenson in this game. I think if Ramondre was there, this would have been a completely different style of offense. This would have been a different rushing attack that we saw today. If Ramondre Stevenson is going to be out long-term, they need to do something at the NFL trade deadline to figure out how can they get a back to be able to complement TreVeyon Henderson. Terrell Jennings is not an RB2. Terrell Jennings is a situational 5-minute back. TreVeyon Henderson is a spell back. You need a guy that's going to take the bulk of the carries and that can get those tough yards, that will invite contact. They don't have that on the roster right now. If it's going to be turf toe for Ramondre, that can be lingering. You might need to go out there. You might need to get a Tony Pollard. That's a guy that they've been linked back to. Rumors saying that they've supposedly been in contact with the Titans potentially about a move like that. They've potentially been in contact with the Carolina Panthers about running back Chuba Hubbard. And so I think the Patriots understand that the rushing attack needs to be better. And I think that if the Patriots can get a guy at the deadline to open up this rushing attack a little bit more, we're going to see the positive effects that it's going to have on the passing game on a consistent basis. Moving on here, though, to the wide receivers. Your leading wide receiver on the day was Demario Douglas. Interesting fact, the first time that Demario Douglas has gone for 100 yards in a game in the NFL before. So big shout out to Demario Douglas, who, hey man, honestly, I love Demario. I'm a massive, massive Demario Douglas fan on and off the football field. I'll call it like it is. I was getting a little bit worried. about Demario Douglas in this system. I was getting really scared that this is going to be a guy that we're talking about being traded. I think he's great on the field. He's great off the field. He's a great locker room guy. Everybody loves Pop Douglas. It's hard to not love Pop Douglas. And he's really gotten it going over the last few weeks. He's been one of the more consistent receivers for New England over the last couple of weeks. You see that chemistry with him and Drake Maye is building. You see Josh McDaniels is finally using him to his strengths and just knowing how to utilize Pop Douglas the correct way. He goes 6 targets, 4 receptions, 100 yards, 25 yards per catch, 1 touchdown, and a long run of 58 yards. A long catch of 58 yards. Look, really outside of Kayshon Boutte, who seems to make like a big play every single week when healthy, Demario Douglas is your best deep threat. Like, it feels like every single week, ever since that Saints game, he's catching some big pass down the field. He's catching something that goes for 40 to 50 plus yards every single week and giving the Patriots 1 or 2 big splash plays that allows them to get into the end zone. And a big reason why the Patriots are scoring, 20 plus points in every single week, it feels like, with ease. So big shout out to Demario Douglas. Thought he had a very, very good game today. Hunter Henry with Kayshon Boutte out, a guy had to step up. A guy that Drake Maye could rely on. Where is he going to go? Was it going to be Stefon Diggs? Was it going to be Hunter Henry? It was a little bit of both, but it was mainly Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry didn't do anything crazy today. He didn't have any crazy reception outside of his, big 17-yard play. But outside of that, Henry went 6 targets, 4 receptions, 51 yards, 12.8 yards per reception. He needed a big-time conversion. Drake Maye was under pressure. Where did he go? He went to Hunter Henry. The Patriots on a 3rd and 5 to seal the game and make sure Atlanta doesn't have an opportunity to get the football back. What do? They go to Hunter Henry. They needed a play to be made. Kayshon Boutte was not there. They went to Hunter Henry, and Hunter Henry did Hunter Henry things. Stefon Diggs, still pretty quiet in this offense over the last couple of weeks. He certainly cooled down. 4 targets, 3 receptions, 38 yards, and 21 of those came on, I'm trying to think, was that the touchdown run? Can't remember if that was the touchdown run or not, but the long catch of the day for Stefon Diggs was 21 yards. And so, 4 targets, 3 receptions, your biggest catch was 21 yards. He really didn't do a whole lot outside of that, but I was impressed with the touchdown. Yeah, that's back-to-back weeks of touchdowns now for Stefon Diggs. Feels like he's very motivated to get into the end zone. Looked like nothing was going to be there. Hits the little stick move on the defender. Is able to get back to the outside. He regains the leverage. Knows that, look, I'm not going to get into the end zone here. So what does he do? He dives for it, and he times it perfectly to get the football across the pylon. Touchdown, man. Really, really good job by him. Great situational awareness by him to be able to capitalize and for the Patriots to put up 7. Outside of that, though, like I said, really didn't do a whole lot, and you hope that Stefon Diggs can kind of reemerge here, because when Stefon Diggs is going off, the offense is different. But you also got to remember that not everybody on the offense is going to go off every single week. Like, it can't be a Demario Douglas, Stefon Diggs, Kayshon Boutte, Hunter Henry game every single week. Certain guys need to eat. Early on in the season, it was Stefon Diggs that was eating. Now it feels like Demario Douglas is the one that's eating. Who knows? By the end of the season, maybe it's Kyle Williams as the guy that's going to be eating, because that's just what this Patriots offense is about. It's this mindset. It's this philosophy in that wide receiver room that it's not just one guy. It's everybody. And they have this mantra of everybody eats. And right now, that's exactly what it is. TreVeyon Henderson had some good moments in the receiving game. 6 targets, 4 receptions, 32 yards. Matt Collins, like I said today, definitely was a lot more quiet compared to what we saw last week in his breakout game. 2 targets, 2 receptions, 9 yards. Large part of that was because, like I said earlier, there was no play action game. And if there isn't going to be any play action that you can implement, that's Matt Collins' game. Like, if the Patriots have a heavy RPO offense, the guy that's going to capitalize most on that is Matt Collins, because Matt Collins is a great blocker that then turns into a receiver and is a good route runner. Is a good guy that works through contact. And so because they didn't run a lot of RPOs today, Matt Collins just wasn't a guy that was going to eat. Last thing I'll say about the wide receiver room is Kyle Williams. It's just not there. It's just not there right now. I don't think it's on Kyle Williams per se. Like, I don't think it's a situation where Kyle Williams is doing something wrong. Like, it's not a situation where he's not getting open or he's not running. I don't want to say he's not running the right routes, but he's getting that separation, long story short. He's doing the first initial part, get open. But the problem is that every single time that Drake Maye throws his way, something's not right. Every single time this season we've seen Drake Maye throw his way, Kyle Williams is over here, Drake Maye's over here. Kyle Williams thinks left, Drake Maye thinks right. Kyle Williams thinks front, Drake Maye thinks back. The problem for those guys is that they don't have the chemistry. They're not on the same page. And so, honestly, I'm not expecting a whole lot from Kyle Williams this year, because I don't even think it's one of those momentum things. I don't think it's like, oh, well, let's just get Kyle Williams a 10-yard pass, and then he'll be like, welcome to the NFL, and all will be good. Because no, he's getting open when he's out there. But when Drake Maye's going his way, those guys are on 2 completely different pages. The only way that's going to be figured out is for those guys outside of game day to figure out, how do we get on the same page? And it really might just be a situation where that's something that they have to work on this offseason. They have to get to know each other a little bit more. They got to build that chemistry a little bit more. That's just what it might be for Kyle Williams. And I'm kind of learning to just accept that. Because once they do build that chemistry, Kyle Williams is getting open a lot more than people are giving him credit for. Whether it's Drake Maye not understanding him, whether it's Kyle Williams running the wrong routes, I'm not 100% sure. But all I know is that right now, they're not on the same page, and that's why we're not seeing him, light up the stat sheet. As for the offensive line today, I thought it was here and there. I thought it was like it was last week. You faced one of the better pass rushes in the league. I thought there were some really bad moments by the O-line. I thought there were moments that Mike Longwenny was whiffing on blocks. There were moments that Morgan Moses was whiffing on blocks. But then there was also times that Drake Maye was running into guys, causing his own sacks. And so it was a little bit of both. It was a little bit on the quarterback. It was a little bit on the offensive line. The O-line in terms of run blocking was yet again inconsistent. And so I didn't think it was horrific. I can't put it all on the O-line. But we also can't sit here and say that the O-line didn't have any part of the blame and that Drake Maye made the O-line look worse than it actually was. Like, no, the O-line wasn't great. Drake Maye just made it look a little bit more worse than in reality maybe it was. So, but before we go ahead and we keep talking about this game, we get into the defensive side of the football. Real quick, I want to let you guys know about our good friends over at Kalshi. Now, when looking at Kalshi, about 79% of people believe the Patriots will have over 11.5 wins this season, while 69% of people are taking the Patriots over 10.5 wins this season. Man, oh man. Boy, if you guys have been following the channel for a while, back in like August, September, when we first started to talk about Kalshi, people were talking about 8.5 wins for the Patriots. Now people are talking about 11.5, 10.5 wins for the New England Patriots. And my favorite thing about Kalshi too is that you can look at the trends. Like, you can see that at one point back on August 29th, 28% of people were taking the Patriots over 10.5 wins. But as time goes on, wait, the Patriots are good again? The Patriots have won how many back-to-back? And to even getting to where we are now, wow, the Patriots have won 6 straight games? Are you kidding me? And now you can see that via Kalshi, people are really starting to believe again in the New England Patriots. And a lot of people, if you bet on the New England Patriots, 10 or more wins this season on Kalshi early on, you're making yourself an easy, pretty penny, man. Let me tell you, I've had a great time using Kalshi this football season, making some extra cash. Kalshi's not a sports book. They're the best damn predictions market on the platform. All the odds and the trends that you see on Kalshi, they're not made up by Kalshi. They're real people's thoughts and opinions with their thoughts and opinions on these lines. So all of the trends that you see right here, all of the money that you see flying up here, this is people putting their thoughts and opinions on these lines. It's not Kalshi just making them up. Available in every single state, though. And if you're wrong about your take, Kalshi doesn't make a single cent off you. We'll put that in the live chat, though. Make sure you guys download that mobile app. And, of course, play responsibly. Let's go ahead and let's get back into this New England Patriots defense. Before we do so, do want to give a big shout out to everybody that is supporting us via Super Chats. You guys know that your Super Chats always support the channel massively. You said, yo, just showed up. How was Will Campbell? Campbell wasn't, I don't think, it wasn't bad. We'll have to get the initial thoughts. In fact, maybe PFF has them. Let's see. Let's see if PFF has the Patriots. Early numbers. Nope, not that. Nope, it's not that one. So I don't think this it. So I think they do actually have it up already. So let's see. Average time to throw. Wow, so Michael Penix actually had a worse time to throw. This is correct. They're giving Drake Maye an average time to throw of 3.28 seconds in this game? Wow. So Michael Penix had an average time to throw in this game of 2.77 seconds. Drake Maye had an average time to throw of 3.28 seconds, according to PFF. That doesn't feel right, but maybe. Maybe. Your highest graded player from today's game was Demario Douglas. He had a 95.3 overall grade. Morgan Moses had a 78.1 overall grade. Hunter Henry had a 75.6. Milton Williams with an 84.4. Jalen Hawkins also with a pretty good game, too. He had an over an 80 PFF grade. I'm trying to see if they give us any of the numbers for the O-line. And I don't think they will. So I was trying to find Will Campbell's numbers from today, but it looks like the initial grades here from PFF, they're not actually giving us the statistics. So we are going to have to wait on those. Wanted to see if we could find Drake Maye's completion percentage, like adjusted completion percentage, but oh, here we go. So Drake Maye's adjusted completion percentage today was 74%. So overall, he was pretty accurate on the day yet again. Let's see. The Patriots offensive line, I can give you some overall metrics, but I can't give you player-specific metrics yet because those aren't out. But as for the Patriots offensive line, they gave up 21 total pressures today. To put that into comparison, Atlanta gave up 18. Patriots gave up 6 sacks. Atlanta gave up 1. Yards lost on sacks. The Patriots lost 45 yards today on their sacks. Atlanta only lost 4. Let's see. Michael Penix was hit 2 times. Drake Maye never got hit. He was just purely sacked. Drake Maye was hurried 13 times. Penix was hurried 14. And then unblocked pressures allowed. They were actually tied. The Atlanta Falcons and Michael Penix had 4, but Drake Maye and the Patriots also had 4. So what those numbers tell me is that Michael Penix was pressured. He just did better under the pressure, making sure it didn't result in a sack, as were Drake Maye. When he was getting pressured, he had guys up in his face. He was kind of just accepting fate a little bit more. But like I said, let's get into this defense. Actually, real quick, let's get into this. Showing love, hashtag smoke Bob. Man, shout out to Tony, man. I got to get my own Bob. In here. And every time you're in the chat, Tony, I'll make sure I hit Bob for you, man. Make sure I hit Bob for you. Shout out to my boy, Tony. Nocturnal comes in with a $1 donation super sticker. That's all. Nocturnal just showing some love in the chat. Nocturnal, we appreciate you as always. But let's go ahead and let's transition on over to the Patriots defense. Okay, I'm going to pull up the stats here real quick. So starting off here with Michael Penix. Michael Penix was 22 of 37 on the day for a roughly 70% adjusted completion percentage. So he was fairly accurate with the ball. 221 yards, 10 yards per throw, 3 touchdowns, 0 turnovers, 1 sack, and an overall rating of 103.5. Really good bounce back game for Michael Penix after missing last week with an injury. When I look at this game, I said the way that you want Atlanta to beat you is through the air. You want to take away the run game. You want to take away Bijan Robinson. You want to take away Tyler Algier. And you want to say, Michael Penix, in your first starting season in the NFL, you are going to have to beat us. Your main priority is taking away Drake London. You take away Drake London, you take away the running game, and you say, Michael Penix, you are going to be forced to beat us with Darnell Mooney and Kyle Pitts. Patriots did half of that, okay? They made him one-dimensional. They took away the run game. They forced him to beat them through the air. They forced Michael Penix to throw the ball almost 40 times. Almost 40 times. And he still almost beat them. And the thing is that the run game did nothing. I mean, Mooney did nothing. Kyle Pitts really didn't do anything. It was one guy. It was one guy that beat the Patriots all game long. This was classic backyard football, where your little buddy just hones in on his best friend the entire game. And that chemistry just cooks everybody. That's exactly what it was. It was Michael Penix and Drake London. That was the Atlanta Falcons offense today. And that's all they needed to almost beat the Patriots. And that's to me is a problem. So again, you did 50%. You did 50% of your defensive scheme or your defensive game plan coming into this game. Again, you shut down the run. You say you're going to be forced to beat us through the air. We're going to rely on our secondary. We're going to rely on our pass rush that we put so much money into, and we're going to stop you. You got him to do exactly what you wanted, but then he still beat you. I mean, even moving on from Michael Penix, I really don't have too much to say about him. Like I said earlier, I thought he was good evading some of the pressure. I thought he had some really good moments. He put the ball into some really tight windows. The only real dumb-headed decision he made was that intentional grounding, which I guess in hindsight did ultimately kill them. But, other than that, I thought Michael Penix had a pretty damn good day against the Patriots defense. But, again, looking at the rushing attack, Bijan Robinson, 12 attempts, 46 yards, 3.8 yards per carry, a lawn of 15 yards. Michael Penix goes 2 carries, 19 yards. Tyler Algier goes 2 carries, 6 yards, 3 yards per carry. So the Patriots were allowing the run attack today for Atlanta to under 4 yards per carry. This is another game where the New England Patriots have not allowed a running back to go for over 50 yards on them. And the narrative about that stat was, oh, well, the Patriots haven't really played good running backs this year, and so it's actually not impressive. Rico Dowdle, Chuba Hubbard, James Cook, Devon Achane, Tyler Algier, Bijan Robinson. Again, some of the best running backs in the league. The Patriots have not allowed those guys to get 50 or more rushing yards. The Patriots are the only team to do so since 1970. 1970. That says a lot. It's actually really impressive that the Patriots defense can do this. And why that's so impressive is because, again, it makes opposing offenses one-dimensional. The Patriots defense is basically telling opponents before they play them, don't even try to run on us. Don't make that part of your game plan. You're going to be forced to beat us through the air. And I think that's why we're hearing at the trade deadline the Patriots want pass rusher. And everybody's like, oh, what do you mean? What? You need like a cornerback and you need like a safety. And what about a wide receiver 1? No, they need pass rushers. Because if you look at it, if the Patriots can just solidify that pass rush and they can be consistent there, that is going to be a scary defense. Because how do you negate pressure? You run the football. But if a team can't run the football against New England and they are forced to pass the ball to have any success, now you unleash the dogs. Now you got Gonzo. Now you got Carlton Davis. Now you got the secondary and Marcus Jones you've paid so much money to. Now you got this pass rush that you've given so much money to. And if they are just consistent, quarterbacks are going to have a real difficult time having to throw the ball 40 times, be gassed by the end of the game, and have to deal with a good secondary and a ruthless pass rush. That's why this team is looking for help on the edge. Because if they can solidify this and they can just get consistency on that pass rush, the Patriots defense is going to lock anyone down. Period. But like I said, it was one guy that killed the Patriots today. And that guy's name was Drake London. Honestly, I owe an apology. I'm a big man. I can give an apology when an apology is needed. I got no problem with it. I apologize to you, Mr. Drake London. This past offseason, when we were talking about what was his name? The wide receiver coming out of the draft that's now with Carolina, Ted McMillan, right? When we were talking about Ted McMillan, I said, I don't know. He has the potential to be good, but he just screams more of a Drake London to me. A guy that's not really going to put up 1,000 yards, but, he'll be like a 900-yard guy. If we had ourselves a Drake London in this offense, I think we'd feel pretty damn good about it. Drake London on the day, though, goes 14 targets today. So they weren't even hiding the fact that they were pushing the ball to Drake London. He goes 9 receptions, 118 yards, 13.1 yards per reception, 3 touchdowns, which is the first time he's done so in his career, and a long catch of 40 yards. Every time they were in the red zone, they went to Drake London, and they capitalized. 2 on Marcus Jones, 1 on Carlton Davis. And honestly, I got a gripe. I have a damn gripe with the defensive play calling. If you want to say, oh, well, they were running zone coverage and Marcus Jones just had an unfavorable matchup because Atlanta did well in making sure that they had that mismatch of London on Marcus Jones. Okay, well, how about on the second touchdown that Marcus Jones gave up? It was man-to-man coverage. Why is Marcus Jones anywhere close to Drake London? It doesn't make sense. Drake London is 6'4". Marcus Jones is 5'8". Marcus Jones can have sticky coverage on Drake London. But Drake London is just going to catch the ball, bop it on Marcus Jones' head, and say, sit down, little buddy. Let the big dogs play. And that's exactly what happened today. That's the disadvantage of having Marcus Jones being so small. He's really, really good against guys that are, no taller than like 6 foot, 6'1". But any taller than that, like those guys are going to kill him. Because if you just put it on the head of the receiver, there is absolutely nothing that Marcus Jones can do about it. This isn't even a Marcus Jones thing. I'm not hating on him. I don't put it on him. He went out there. He played the assignment that was given to him. He did what he was asked, and he was just not put in a position to succeed. Because of that, he gave up 2 touchdowns on the day. And then even Carlton Davis, it was a good pass for Michael Penix. I'll certainly give him that, but Drake London today was just killing the Patriots left and right, but it felt like in large part for the majority of this game, they were putting him, in a position to go up against Marcus Jones where he was mossing him. But I'll give credit where it's due. I'm not taking anything away from Drake London. He killed all 3 of the Patriots starting cornerbacks. He had a big 40-yard gain over Christian Gonzalez that got Gonzo hurt with a head injury. He had the touchdown on Carlton Davis. He had 2 touchdowns on Marcus Jones. What's frustrating to me, though, is that Drake London is the guy you're taking away. Yes, you're taking away the run game to make them one-dimensional, but if you're looking at the receiving game, you're saying there's one guy you got to take away, it's Drake London. You can't take away everyone. If you're worried about taking away everyone, at some point, there's going to be one guy at least that just consistently beats you. And the fact that Drake London was killing them throughout this game as much as they did, but they never transitioned into saying, let's double team Drake London. Let's try and take him out of this game. Let's try to slow him. Let's just say if Kyle Pitts or Darnell Mooney beat you, you tip your cap. They were so worried about taking everything else away that they were just allowing Drake London to kill them and kill them and kill them and kill them. And they never made the actual adjustments to try to take him out of the game when they realized, okay, this is not working. And that's my biggest concern, is because we saw early in the year, Brock Bowers, 100 yards on the Patriots. Jacoby Myers, almost 100 yards on the Patriots. Tyreek Hill, over 100 yards on the Patriots. Drake London, now over 100 yards on the Patriots. In the receiving game, they will allow one guy to consistently beat up on them all game long, but they won't ever make that transition. They won't make those changes into trying to stop that guy. Good football teams will have one game plan, realize it's not working, and then switch up that game plan into something that is going to work better. You're going to face better quarterbacks than Michael Penix. You're going to face better wide receivers than Drake London. What happens when you play Jamar Chase and T. Higgins in a few weeks? Are both of those guys going to go for 100 yards apiece? We're going to have Marcus Jones going on T. Higgins all game long? And we're going to say that's the game plan, so we're sticking with it. We're never going to adapt, because if that's the case, we're going to get killed. There's room for concern. And you won today, and that's why we're not going to talk about this as much as maybe we should. But Drake London killing the Patriots as much as they did today, and the fact that he's the only one that produced and they never changed, there's cause for concern. Bijan Robinson was the second leading receiver today. He goes 10 targets, 8 receptions, 50 yards, 6.3 yards on average. Kyle Pitts goes 7 targets, 4 receptions, 38 yards. Darnell Mooney goes 2 targets, 1 reception, 15 yards. Again, transition, try to double team Drake London, try to limit him, take him out of the game. And if Kyle Pitts or Darnell Mooney, they start to go off, you tip your cap. But it felt like they were more worried about taking away secondary players than taking away Drake London. But I think that's all I have. I will say, Robert Spillane has also gotten better every single week. I think his tackling has been really good. There was this one tackle he had on Kyle Pitts that if Kyle Pitts shook off his one-on-one matchup with Robert Spillane, he gets a first down. But Robert Spillane comes up on a big body, strong Kyle Pitts by himself and secures the tackle with Kyle Pitts trying to shake him off, man. So really, really impressed with the way that Robert Spillane has been getting better every single week, especially with his tackling. He's been a short tackler, and he's also one of the best run defenders in the NFL. Not just run defending linebackers, but run defenders, period. Last thing I'm going to say here, too, is that Christian Gonzalez, who left the game with a head injury, was there for reporters after the game, and him being available to reporters in and of itself is always a good sign. But Gonzo said, and I quote, "I'm good. adding that he went through testing for a concussion. Gonzo even went as far as to say is that if they needed him to return for another defensive series for the game, like let's say that the Patriots didn't convert there on that third down and they gave the ball back to Atlanta, Gonzo says he would have been good to go back into the game. And so we'll see what the injury report is like, but him talking to the reporters is a good sign. And they're going to need him big time when they go up and they play the Bengals in a few weeks, when they play, even next week going up against Tampa Bay. And so he's definitely going to be a big piece for them. So him being healthy is definitely major for the Patriots. Eagles are cooked if Howie ever leaves. Let's see. Well, let's check out some football scores. Football scores. Yeah, or not. That's cool too. The Jets are off this week. We obviously know the Miami Dolphins got cooked. What's the score of that Buffalo Bills game? Wow. Raiders are beating the Jags. Ah, damn it. The Bills are beating the Chiefs. Damn. Good thing we won today. Good thing we won. Bills are beating the Chiefs 28-13 with 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Feels like that's a game that Buffalo is ultimately going to end up winning. Buffalo owns the Chiefs in the regular season, man. Buffalo owns the Chiefs in the regular season. That is just an absolute fact. Absolute fact. I think we had... So we had DTN, who's a Patreon member, said that he wanted to say a couple things, that his phone was going to die. And so he wanted to say a couple things. He wanted me to tell you guys, this is from DTN himself. He says his winners today are Pop Douglas, Caleb on Chason. Caleb on Chason had some good moments. He had a sack today and a tackle for loss on the day. So that's certainly a good play to put on there. He has Terrell Jennings. Okay, I personally wouldn't put Terrell Jennings on my winner. I would say almost a winner for me personally. I don't think he did enough. Like I said, like 3.8 yards per carry? He had 3.2 yards per carry, 35 yards on the day on 11 carries. So I personally wouldn't put him as a winner, but I would put him as maybe an almost winner. He says losers. He has Maye. I guess that's fair. On Wenu, I do also agree with that. And that's the only guys that he currently has on his list. So overall, pretty good list there, DTN. Pretty good list. And of course, we hope to see DTN later on this week back onto the show for our Patreon segment. But let's read a couple of chats here before we log off on the day. Casey's going to lose. Their defense is trash. The thing, too, is like, The Chiefs always lose to the Bills in the regular season, but the Chiefs always beat the Bills in the postseason. So I just want the Bills to lose so we have more of a comfort level within the division. But the other thing I will say, too, is that the Patriots did fall today. I know a lot of you were asking with the Colts loss, where does that put the Patriots? So according to the NFL playoff picture that I'm looking at right now, the Colts are still number one in the AFC. The Broncos, with their win against the Houston Texans, they are number 2 in the AFC. And despite the Patriots' win, they have fallen 3rd in the AFC. So just something to watch there. No winners today. We played bad. When is the giveaway? We already did the giveaway. We already did the giveaway earlier on today in the top of the show. But we do have 3 winners being announced next week, so don't forget that. PG, did you know we are haters? We're haters. I don't know why we're hating. Who's a hater? Don't be a hater. Be a lover, man. Don't be a hater. Be a lover. Don't be a hater. Be a lover. Congratulations to all the winners. Yes, sir. Well, guys, look, I think that's going to end it off for today's show. I don't think there's anything left about the game that I have to say. We will have Rob back next week to do our, of course, regular Fridays game previews when talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's going to be a big one to preview. We'll Be back also next week for our live watch party, and then followed by mine and Rob's show here doing post game. So he will be back next week. All is good there. But that's going to wrap it up for today's episode. This is where I kick it off to you guys. What are your thoughts on today's 1-point win? 1-point win, 24-23, New England Patriots against the Atlanta Falcons. Now all eyes are pointed on Week 10 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So let us know your guys' thoughts on this in the comment section below. Tampa obviously coming off of a bye week, so something to watch there. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button on the way out. Big shout out to all the jersey giveaway winners today. Make sure that you guys respond. If you don't respond within 48 hours, we do have to re-give the jersey away to somebody else. We'll be announcing 3 more winners next week during our Tampa Bay post-game stream for our final jersey giveaways here. So make sure you guys enter the jersey giveaway. But until next time, as always, appreciate you guys for watching, and go Pats.